Hello ROS developers and welcome to a new video about how to develop with ROS. If you want to learn anything about ROS, this is your channel. ROS navigation, ROS with drones, ROS for autonomous cars. Everything ROS is here. Learn ROS step by step and push your ROS learning with just a 10 minutes video. Hi, I am Ricardo and today we are going to answer this question about how to properly set up a differential drive controller for a Gazebo simulated wheeled robot. But before anything else, remember to visit the Robot Ignite Academy, our online academy where you will find practical online ROS courses using simulated robots. No installation required. And you will find the link to the academy on the video description. And now let's start with the question that we can see today at the ROS answer. In this case, Javi is asking about how to configure the differential drive controller for a wheel robot. So he wants to use this controller instead of using, for example, the plugin for Gazebo for the differential drive. So he has some problems here loading this, and he gets this message, typical message: controller spawner couldn't find the expected controller manager ROS interface. Okay, so he has some problems here, I can see on the configuration, but let's see how we can solve them. So the first thing, in order to do this, I'm going to use the ROS Development Studio that you can have access, free access here at rds.deconstructsim.com. And I'm going to use a previous simulation that I have that it's about a wheel robot, a differential drive wheel robot. So let me just launch an empty simulation here, and then afterwards I'm going to spawn this differential drive robot, just to let you know. Okay, that's the one that we are going to see in to use for solving this question. So let's go here, the empty simulation, and then in order to spawn it I have to do the ROS launch, two wheels, description, spawn. So if I spawn this, if I launch this, then I will have here in this simulation, I will spawn this differential drive robot. That should appear around here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, it's just a simple robot with two wheels and a laser and a caster wheel. And whoops, I missed it. Sorry, because of this, I didn't put correctly on the on the Gazebo. Oh yeah, so I'm not pressing the proper key. Okay, so here I have it. So you have it. That's the wheel robot that we are using. So let's see how we can activate the differential drive controller for this. Then what the Javi has here is he provides two things. First is the launch file, and then the configuration for the differential drive controller. So let's start by creating those files, and let's see if they are correct or not. So let's go to our project and let's open the IDE here. And so let me close everything that I was doing here, and let's create a new launch file here. I have created this previous question launch file that what it does here is just to spawn the robot. Okay, so this is just spawning the robot here, and then we have to create this configuration file. Let's create it here on the config, and let's call it, for example, new file. Let's call it my diff drive.yam, for example, and let's open it. So it's empty, and here I'm going to paste the code that Javi has posted here on the question. So let's copy everything up to here and paste it here. Great. So we have it here in the configuration file. Then next thing that he is providing is the launch file for he's launching his robot with the differential drive controller. And let's open it. It's an image, so it's not very nice way of posting things by using images because we cannot copy and paste. But anyway, so what he is doing is loading the hardware interface. We don't need that because we are using a simulation. And then he is loading, you see, the configuration parameters file in the param server. Okay, so that's something that we have to add to our file. So let me add it to our launch file. So in my case, I'm spawning the robot. In his case, he is not spawning the robot because he has probably the proper robot already running. So he is using the hardware interface connected to the real robot. So let's add this config file that I have here, load, and let me copy and paste. It's just the same code that he has here. Okay, ROS param, SARA control, but I have to modify a little bit something just to accommodate to my own system, to my own list of packages and so on. So what I'm going to do is first, this is correct. So now my file, my config file, it's inside this two wheels description package. That is this one, inside the two wheels description package. And I'm going to change the name of this file because I have called my diff drive.yam. And then load. Perfect. So it's working. Let's put it a little bit bigger. Yeah, next thing that he is doing is to load the controller manager, of course. So let's do it and load it. So what I have here is this line in order to launch here. So what it does, well, first the name. The name is something that you can put whatever it is. So I just leave it the same. The package, that is a controller manager, and then the type, that is a spawner. Then some parameters, and the ones that are interesting, not those ones, it's okay, the full ones, but especially is this one, the args. The args is indicating which controller we have to spawn from the config file. So if you remember, we have created here a config file, and this config file can contain a list of different controllers that you want to control, to configure. Okay, so these are the parameters for configuring this mobile-based controller. So you can have several here of controllers. After this differential drive, you can add another one. And for that specific case, which ones you want to load. That's what this argument is indicating. So here we, of course, we have to indicate, hey, I want to load the one that I have put here with this name. Okay, so let's do it. But so I have copied this name here, copy it, and then paste it here. Yes, so it's the same. But this is one of the first errors that we can see here, is that the args here is in the file, it's saying differential drive controller, but his configuration file, in his configuration file, he has called differently mobile-based controller. Okay, so that's the first error. So those names doesn't match, so you have to change this here, and it has to match this one here. Great, one thing that is solved. Another error that he has is that this controller is not within any namespace. As you can see, this controller name, it starts just from the beginning of the file, in the same way as here it starts. So that means that it's not within any namespace. And then here on the launch file provided by Javi, he is actually providing a namespace here in the launch file. So this is another error. The controller manager is never going to be able to load this, because to find it, because this even if you get this right, this namespace doesn't exist on the config file. So that's another thing that they have removed here from my launch file. So as you can see, I have removed the namespace NS argument that he had like this, like robot. Okay, so he had that, but I'm removing it. Why? Because I don't have a robot namespace. It should be here. So it should be here, something like that. Robot, in order to use it, okay? But let's keep it simple. Now we don't need that, so it should be looking like this, in order to be able to put here the namespace parameter, okay? But I'm just removing and not using it. Okay, so that's it. And here also remove. So 2 errors spotted. Okay, great, so far so good. Then what else? So then another thing that you have to do is that you have to be sure that those names here, they do match as the name of the joints that you have in your URDF of your robot. So those names here in the configuration, they have to match into the URDF. Where do we have the URDF? In my case is here, 2 wheels, and then I checking that my joints, they do have those names here. Yeah, okay, so wheel right joint, and then if we go down, then we have the wheel left joint. So that is correct. Wheel left joint and wheel right joint. That is correct also. So I cannot see if it is correct in your case because you didn't post your URDF, Javi. So anyway, so for the ones that are using this for configuring your differential drive, you have to be sure about that. Now, next step is that if you are launching this in a Gazebo simulation, you have to be able to load the Gazebo ROS control. So you have to be sure that you are loading the Gazebo ROS control plugin, because otherwise the system will not be able to load the controllers. It will say exactly the error that you have spotted, that controller spawner couldn't find the expected controller manager ROS interface. So first thing is to add this Gazebo ROS control plugin. Then you have to go to the URDF model of your robot and add it somewhere. Let's go to the end here and let's add this line that is a very simple line, just indicating please load this Gazebo ROS control plugin. Okay, so now we have the ROS controller manager loaded by doing this. Okay, so then a final thing that we need to do is to indicate that those joints that we are using for the differential drive, they actually have a transmission, because we are using controllers, so we need a transmission tag in the URDF definition. So let's add, for example, here, yeah, so when the left wheel, so I need to go again to my URDF file and add a couple of transmission tags. Let me copy and paste it here so you can have a look. So I have already prepared, okay, for this case. So this is a transmission tag that is required for every controller that you want the ROS controller manager to use it for a joint. And what we are specifying is that the wheels are joints, and especially they have to use a velocity joint interface. So this is very specific. So you have to copy this code and be sure that you are specifying the velocity joint controller and here the velocity joint interface. Then as actuators, this name you can put whatever you want. It doesn't matter, and this also is just a tag to identify the transmission and the actuator. But you have to be sure again here that the joint name contains the proper joint name for your joint, for the controlling of your joint. So this one has to match this one. Okay, so this is the transmission for the left joint, and we have to include, of course, the transmission for the right joint, for the right wheel actually. Okay, and then with that everything is set up. and we have made some modifications to the URDF to specify first the loading here of the Gazebo ROS control plugin. Second, to add the transmissions for every one of the wheels. Then here we have just copy paste, and that's correct, so no changes here in the differential drive, just to be sure that your joint names correspond to the ones defined on the URDF. And finally, we have here on the launch file, we have loaded the configuration file and spawned the controller, making sure that the namespace is not, so you don't specify any namespace. Great, so now let's finish this. So let's kill that. Also, we can kill this one. And now we can just launch again and see what happens. So we launch it. So we oh, sorry, no, not that one, sorry. So we have to launch this new question launch file, sorry. So let's go to launch the question. Yeah, there it is. So let's go. Why? Because the other one was the one that I was using for my previous project. So don't worry. And here it should be around here because it says inserted. Let's see where it is. Here it is. Okay. Here we have the robot, and let's open another shell and check that the controllers have been loaded properly. Well, actually I can see here that they have been started controllers. So I see that it's already running there, but let's check if the topics have been published. ROS topic list, and there are. So those are the mobile-based controller and the odometry that are the ones that are provided by that controller. So basically that's it. That's how you can configure the differential drive controller for your robot with your differential drive. Then in the description of the video you will find a complete course about ROS basics, either in Python or C++, as well as any resources that I have mentioned here on the video. And did you like the video? Then if you did, please give us a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to our channel and press the bell for a new video every day. And well, in case that you like it or you didn't, just share your thoughts and questions in the comments area. Hasta la vista.